Welcome in, everybody. What in the fuck is going on? Hold on a second. Welcome to the WWE Hell in a Cell. There we go. Alright, apparently if I have y'all covered up, it's not going to show. Your window's got to be up. Okay, good news. Welcome to the Hell in a Cell 2020 Wrestling Review Podcast. 617. I got Merrick Prince over here. I got Puppet Master 2191. I couldn't even read my own damn writing in there, dude. What's going on, guys? Merrick, how you doing? Doing good, man. Puppet, how you doing today? Puppet is chilling. Puppet, what you got on? You got a Raw's War shirt on, or you got what? I want to see. Look what I got on, man. Look what I got on. Viva Del Rio. What? It's the only shirt I have clean, man. I just pulled out my closet, pulled the only wrestling shirt out that I got that was clean. All right, first off, DJ Ditter, thank you for that tier 1 sub for 2 months in a row. I appreciate that, man. Much love. All right, so last night's show was a damn good show. Probably one of the better Hell in a Cell pay-per-views that I've seen in a long, long time. Probably one of the best pay-per-views I've seen this year, besides, well, not even WrestleMania. I didn't care for the 2-part WrestleMania. It was meh. Kind of boring. Or what? There we go. Now
I like Mania to a certain extent.
Mania had some good matches. The Undertaker, John a blank. AJ Styles match was pretty good.
Boneyard.
Boneyard. I'd like to see more matches like that. So, we'll start the show. Starting in the show was Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. Coming out in the first ever I Quit Hell in a Cell match. This match has a lot of promise. This feud that's going on between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso has a lot of potential. A lot of promise coming in. And quite frankly, it's building a new stable. They're trying to bring back the, what do you call it, Puppet? The tribe? The family?
I can't even pronounce it.
Anawaki? Whatever it is, the Samoan family.
The Samoan bloodline.
The Samoan bloodline. They're trying to create a faction between all of the active Samoan wrestlers that are within that family line. Meaning Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and then whoever else may be lurking that they haven't announced is actually part of this bloodline.
Tamina will also be a part of it.
Tamina, yes. Tamina Snuka.
Which I can't wait until they start incorporating that in there.
Alright, so I think for me, the highlight of this match had to be the back and forth banter between the two. Just the constant shit talking. The trash talking from Roman to Jey, from Jey to Roman. That sold everything that was going on. It was a slow match starting out. You know, Roman Reigns started off strong. Came up, did the usual bad ass attitude and everything. Come out, kind of took over from the start. Talking shit, telling Jey, he just needs to bow down, recognize me, acknowledge me as your tribal chief. That's what sold it for me. That's where I want to see exactly how they play this out in future episodes of Raw and future pay-per-views.
Well, I'm going to say the highlight for me has to be towards the end, where he starts semi-realizing that he's kind of making a mistake and starting to catch on, but then he snaps back to the way he was being for the full tribal chief.
Right. And see, I think that was part of the act.
I was going to say, I feel like that was part of the, you know what, I'm going to play this way and lure you in because I'm going to make your brother quit.
Right. I literally think, I don't think Roman cares, honestly, about the way he's acting and everything. You can tell by the way he walks to the ring and by the way he is in the ring, he's actually enjoying it. He's learning to embrace the hate that's coming from the universe now instead of trying to go out there and push himself to be a face and make the universe like him when nobody really cares about Roman Reigns. They only cared about him when he had Ambrose and Rollins by his side and they were the Shield. But as soon as Vince and all them started pushing him, trying to make him the new face of the company, the fans rejected it. They didn't like it. They didn't want Roman Reigns to be their champion.
It was that force feeding feel.
Right. It was to the point that when you have Roman Reigns and then you have the part-time Brock Lesnar in the same ring, people actually start cheering for the part-time guy to retain the title and stay champion regardless, because they just didn't like Roman. And now Roman's out there. He's got Paul Heyman at his side. Paul Heyman is coaching him to be a better performer and to embrace this new style of hate that's coming from the fans. And I think that's what's driving Roman now to embrace what he is, to embrace this new role that they're trying to bestow upon him, this new faction that they're trying to create. Hey, Phoenix, on nights for work this week. Nights? It's a no fun.
Phoenix.
It's a no fun, Phoenix.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, one of the best parts is Jay, is when he grabbed that damn strap.
Oh.
I'm gonna whoop the dog shit out of you.
I'm gonna whoop the dog shit out of you.
I'm gonna whoop the dog shit out of you.
My whole, like, this was the one match I was looking forward to watching on the entire card. Mainly because this storyline is very, very reminiscent, very, very personal, very. It can get your attention.
Right.
Like it can make you be like, okay, I want to see what happens here. Because I've got a sister. Me and my sister fight. This is a family fighting on, look, I'm better than you. You might as well just acknowledge it.
Exactly. In all the pictures, I'm in the front. You're behind me.
Yeah. And, like, I can tell you right now, there's been times where me and my sister have fought, and it's like, listen, I'm the better child. I'm you know, it's one of those things where it's like, look, I'm older. You're going to fall in line.
Right.
In this instance, not necessarily the same, but it is the same.
Right. Instead of it being brothers and sisters, just being cousins and everything, you know?
And the thing with it is, with Samoan bloodlines and Samoan families, you may be cousins, but you're also brothers.
Right. Exactly.
Like, there's no cousin, there's no... Like, yeah, they'll acknowledge, yeah, that's my cousin, but, like, it's deeper than just a normal cousin. It is a... You know, this is like my brother, especially with these three guys. It's been well documented. They're all roughly the same age. They all followed each other. They were all in the same group in high school. So it's always been the three.
Right. They all played the same sports. They were on the same team. You know, Roman's 35. Right. The Usos are like 32, 33. I think, you know, they're not too far behind Roman. It's just the fact that, you know, the Usos feel like, if you look at all the pictures that are taken of the family, it's always Roman at the front, the Usos are at the back. Of course, you know, these are only the pictures that WWE is showing us. Who knows what the rest of them are going to be like? You know, for all we know, they could all just be normal pictures. But, you know, the whole storyline is based on the fact that Roman feels that he is better than them. He's acknowledged himself as the tribal chief, and he's tried to make Jimmy and Jay both submit and being underneath him and acknowledging him as their leader to start this faction. And they don't want to do it.
My two biggest highlights from the match was, one, WWE censorship being way late on catching the words, because I'm pretty sure I'm fairly certain, like, the very first one was when they're in the corner of the cell, and it was Jay going, yeah, you ain't ever quit, I'm gonna make you say that shit tonight.
Right.
Like, that was the first one, and then you see Jay grab the strap, and he goes, you ain't gonna quit, I'm gonna whoop the dog shit out of you.
Right, I'm gonna whoop the dog shit, censored.
And that's the thing. I'm glad that they missed those because that's personal. That makes that match, like that banner, that back and
Right.
forth. Oh yeah. You ain't gonna quit? All right, cool. I'm gonna whoop the dog shit out of you.
And
You gonna quit?
And the funny thing is, like, I honestly think that with this particular feud, we talked about Mania at the beginning. Let's go back to the Boneyard match with Shawn Michael or with Undertaker and AJ Phoenix. That was unscripted. That match was unscripted. Everything they said, they ad-libbed, they came up with on the fly. And the WWE, when they were filming that match, Vince was even on site with them filming, and it got to one point where Undertaker said something about like, you ain't nothing but a son of a bitch, and then he looked at Vince, expecting to get in trouble, and Vince was like, no, keep going. He's like, let's see where it goes. Keep going, just run with it. He gave them free reign to do what they want, and I think that's what they're doing with this particular storylines. They're giving them free reign to say what they want, probably only on pay-per-views. Because if Uso comes out with a strap and says, I'm gonna whoop the dog shit out of you live on USA Network for Monday Night Raw, they're gonna get hit with like a $50,000 fine from the FCC. They're not gonna allow that on TV.
My thing there is you get to see more of the personalities whenever traits like that get expressed.
And here's the thing: if you stop and you look, AEW runs 4 pay-per-views a year.
Right.
So their main thing is their weekly television, and I can tell you right now, I've heard several promos get cut on there where shit is like, literally, you can take that shit and shove it. Miro, you can take your imaginary brass ring and shove that shit up your ass. That was live promo on TNT. So as far as what can be said, what can't be said, that is starting to loosen up now with time.
Right. It's
like
they're trying to move out of the PG era. They're trying to go back to the way things were.
I feel like they are. Does that mean that we're going to see blood? Maybe.
Not every match.
Not like it was in the Attitude Era. You're not going to have that WrestleMania 13 moment with Austin and the Sharpshooter and his face just pouring blood down through his mouth.
Well, and when people think of the Attitude Era, they think every match resulted in blood, but it didn't. This isn't ECW. ECW was that way because it was extreme. WWE, it was always like the main match and like the main event. When
it was your major stories,
right.
And it never came out unless it made sense.
Right, exactly.
So, like,
or it was a sheer accident.
Yeah, so, for instance, in these matches, in these Hell in a Cells, right? You mean to tell me that you're going to have 2 men taking each other and throwing each other with everything they have against steel bars and chain link, and someone's not going to get cut open?
Exactly.
It's believable in the environment of, okay, his face went across the chain link just right. Yeah, he caught one of those wild spurs.
Right.
Exactly. It's believable. Or fast forward, Roman Reigns, like there's a good back and forth in the match,
right.
And then Reigns comes out and gets the advantage, and he uses the ring steps in that brutal, nasty-looking assisted drive-by dropkick with the ring steps, Jay, and the ring post.
Right.
Somewhere along that way, you mean to tell me
he wouldn't have had a busted
lip? There's not going to be someone who's going to get cut.
Exactly. You're making it look like he's drop kicking these 85-pound steps into this guy's head, and I'm sorry, but if you get hit in the face, your nose is going to break. You're going to bleed from your nose. Your mouth is going to. You
can use blood to help tell your story, not make it the match, but help tell the story, draw you that much closer to it.
Exactly.
Now, I said that there was 2 big things that I liked about this match. One was the banter, the back and forth. My other favorite part of the match was towards the end when everyone's in the ring and you see Reigns outside the ring, and he's like, "Oh, okay. So y'all gonna take his side," and then he grabs the door and closes it. And he goes, "Well, we might as well close this because ain't no one leaving.
Nobody going nowhere."
So like,
That was the best part.
and like
we're gonna
the
take
reason,
his side. Well, we might as well close this because ain't nobody going nowhere.
ain't nobody going nowhere. So like the whole reason I even bring that up is it shows that Reigns really believes that he is this tribal chief. It's his way or no way. Like, you do as I say. Like, there's a moment where where the ref is checking him, and he's like, check him. And he does, and the ref looks at him and he goes, he's not saying it. He's not saying it. And he grabs the ref, he goes, well, you're not saying it either. And over he goes.
So it was
like,
no, what it was is he told the ref to check him, and the ref goes over and he looks at Reigns. He's like, I gotta call it. He's out. And Reigns like,
oh
what?
yeah.
He was
like,
going to call it. I gotta call the match. He's out. And Reigns grabs the ref. He's like, out. He's out. No, you're out. And just throws his ass over the top of the rope against the cage. And that's when all hell broke loose. That's when everybody come running in. And that led up to Roman basically saying, oh, you're going to take his side. We might as well close this because ain't nobody going nowhere.
Y'all going to make me the bad guy. I'm not the bad guy. I tried to let this end. He wouldn't do it.
and that's when Reigns grabbed the steps and threw him in. And that's when he basically pinned him on top of Jimmy and Jay, and he's just sitting there just running his mouth like, you made me do this. I didn't want to be the bad guy. You made me the bad guy.
I didn't want to have to go this far. Right. You made me have, yeah.
Right. It goes. Jay having a huge highlight for a minute.
Do what?
Let's talk about Jay and his huge highlight where he actually literally choked Roman Reigns out with a strap.
Oh yeah.
Like completely. Like he literally looked like he fully blacked out. And
they both did.
Okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Until he wakes up, it's like, oh, I'm good. Let's go.
Like, okay, so if you notice in that exchange, when Jay is, you can tell that Jay is feeling the adrenaline from the match itself, because every time he tried to loop that strap around, he kept missing. Like, that was the most loops I'd ever seen on a strap, and never a loop get made.
You could see the frustration in his face when he missed like the third one. And then with that fourth one, then he finally just gave up and said to hell with it and just started choking him with the
But like that first one went through, but it dropped below the chin.
Yeah.
And no one had caught it. And after like the third or fourth time of him trying to loop it, that's when he just pulled back and started.
Right.
And you could see it right across. And you could see Reigns and him going, I can't breathe.
Yeah. And
then out.
You knew something was wrong. Like the first time Reigns blacked out. Oh, by the way, Monkey, thanks for the love. When Reigns blacked out, when he came back to, right before Jay started cinching it up again, you can see that hand go up under the strap and pull it back a little just so that he doesn't black out again. And I think at that point, that was when the ref realized that something's not right, because you could see him kind of tap Jay on the shoulder, and something was said, but you couldn't hear it because they turned the mics down. And that was when Jay broke the hold and everything after the second time that he pretended to black out the second time.
I'm almost positive.
He literally blacked him out.
I'm almost positive that first time was Jay. He's unconscious.
Legit. That was legit because you can tell. Like if you ever been knocked out, whenever you regain consciousness, that first inhale, you're always like you gasping for air that first time. Like that literally tells you that Jay fucked up and literally choked his ass out and didn't realize it.
I'm sure Roman was choking him out whenever he put him in that guillotine.
I was going to say the receipt was given because when Reigns put in that guillotine, he had that guillotine, and you the whole the way that Jay went down. I've been choked out by from a guillotine.
Right.
Like you slowly slump, and like that knee started buckling, then the knee went down, and then he just kind of slumped. Oh, he didn't go straight forward. He slumped. Right. He slumped over, and like the receipt. Yes, it's wrestling. Shit happens. Mistakes are made, but you also know like it's a thing called a receipt. You got one coming when it happens.
It's like back when Strowman was facing Lesnar and everything, and Lesnar didn't block the knee and caught that knee to the face, and then in return, Lesnar turns around and clocks Strowman right in the face and damn near knocks him out.
He did knock him out. He knocked him for a loop.
Yeah.
But I mean, you also stop and think. So we're talking like Hell in a Cell. We've talked about Undertaker. First Hell in a Cell was Undertaker, Shawn Michaels.
Right.
Well, since then, Undertaker has went on and had many memorable, stories, feuds, everything.
Right.
But you stop and think when Randy Orton came in, before the streak was really what it was, Taker was 12-0, and they were leading up to almost a year-long feud with
I can't remember.
With Orton and Taker.
Yeah.
Well, there was an event that took place where Orton was supposed to was using the chair, and Orton came short on the chair shot rather than hitting him around here.
Right.
He'd hit him right around the middle of the forehead, bridge of the nose, and it was the lip of the chair that hit him there.
Right.
And it just peeled like his forehead down to his nose, and he was covered in blood. And the whole reason I even now know the story was because the Untold that aired after the pay-per-view was this. And Orton was like, so I'm in the back. Taker comes back. He goes, "I'm so sorry, sir. I'm so sorry. That was not." And Taker looks at him. He goes, "Just understand, you got a receipt coming." and they went on. Well, all right. Now you fast forward. They've went through Mania. They've went through the casket match. They've made it through Survivor Series. Now we're at Armageddon. They have the Hell in a Cell match, and there's a moment where they're outside, and Taker. They're both outside the ring near the steps. Orton's, has went through literally hell in this cell.
Right.
And he goes, now I remember Taker grabs me. He goes, "Here comes your receipt, kid." And he grabs a chair and he blasts him. And Orton knew. He was like, hey, I got this one coming. And here's the thing. He goes, anyone else would have thrown that chair like they were Babe Ruth.
Right.
And put everything in it. But even in that moment, Taker was still taking care of me because I know he did not throw that as hard as he could. Yes, he threw it to where I felt it.
Right.
I was knocked for a loop, but he was still taking care of me. And I think when you look at it like that, same thing happened here. So Jay chokes Roman out, didn't mean to. And the way that they recovered with it was when Roman came to, Jay immediately jumped back into it.
Right.
Boom. And Roman had that instance where he had that hand through, or he had it loose enough to where he could keep it from knocking him completely out. And then Roman was like, well, I know yours was an accident, but I'm going to put you to sleep for a minute. Hold on.
Right.
Type thing. And it's like, you're going to get your receipt. And to me, it made the story, like it helped make that match. But the other key element to making that match was Paul Heyman on the outside.
Right.
Because not just his facial expressions, but like there's times where, Roman is clearly in the advantage. And he's over in the corner, and Heyman's talking to him, and you can hear Paul going, "Hey, I think that's enough. Just make him quit."
That's your favorite.
Or there's a moment where Heyman says something, and you just see Roman look up and across the cage, and he tells him, "You can shut the hell up."
Right.
He done this.
Right.
He's going to acknowledge me. Like it helps keep that story relevant, but it
Right.
also shows you, look, yeah, this is Paul Heyman. Everyone knows him. He's the advocate for the Beast. He's this, he's that. A lot of people hate him, but now he's in this relationship with Roman, and Roman brings him into this relationship.
Right.
And it's not, hey, I need you to talk for me because I can't. Because that's, let's be honest, Paul Heyman is probably one of the best on a microphone. But in this instant, like, it's more of Roman gives Paul, look, I don't want to deal with this. You go tell him what I said and get back in here. Boom, over and done with.
Right.
It's more of, as Heyman hinted in the pre-show, the kickoff show, there was the interview, and Heyman tells them, if Jay loses, essentially the Usos will become Roman's indentured servants.
Right.
Kind of like he is, in a way. So it's one of those. It's one of those. The story is there. The matches and the intensity is there, like it should be for this.
Right.
Me personally, like I said, this was the one match on the card I was looking forward to seeing. It kind of caught me off guard that they threw it first. I honestly feel like it should have went last.
It should have been. It should have been,
especially with how it ended. Especially at the end of that match and everything that occurred that we've not talked about yet.
Right. Now let's fast forward through. We get towards the end of the match. All the officials are in the ring. They're checking on the other guy, making sure he's okay. Reigns has Jay pinned. He's trash talking him, telling him he needs to acknowledge him. He needs to acknowledge me as your tribal chief. You need to submit. And then he picks the steel steps up. He holds him above his head. He's about to drive him into Jay, and out comes Jimmy, diving on top of his brother, and basically pleading with Roman to not do it. Like, don't do this. We're family. And at this point, I honestly believe kayfabe was broken at this point with Jimmy, because I don't know if y'all picked up on it, but real names were thrown out.
Yeah. This is Josh, man. This is Josh laying here.
And I'm John. We're family. Like, kayfabe was broken at that point because he started throwing real names out, and then that leads to Roman Reigns breaking down.
Which, Merrick, you pointed on this.
Right.
You said this was one of.
Take this one.
Yeah, I was going to say you felt like this was something that I'm guessing you wasn't expecting to see in the match. So
not yet.
Sweet. I would love to hear your take on it. So go ahead and take over.
Well, I mean, like, I felt like you kind of seen some true emotions. Maybe something's actually going on outside of WWE, and then you get it for a few moments, and he just instantly snaps back, and boom, gets back to being tribal chief. Takes out Jimmy, and ends up making himself look like the man. But at the end of the day, with all this going on, he never got the I quit. So he still doesn't feel like he's being appreciated in this moment.
Yes and no. I see what you're saying, and I do agree. There was real emotions there. My favorite thing was when he was sitting there, and you could see the tears. Yeah. Like, you could see the water in the eyes, and him looking at Jimmy and saying, I don't know who I've become. I don't know who I am anymore.
Right.
And Jimmy saying, dude, it's us.
Family.
We got you. We
like Six said, they started bringing out real names and stuff like that.
Right. He started bringing, and then you can also tell that there's something going on behind the scenes that they're not talking about, because Jimmy turned around and said, no matter what's going on at home, we got you. We're here. Yeah. We are family.
That's why I said I feel like there's some emotions outside
there. I think there is. I honestly think that there is something going on, and I think WWE, they gave WWE permission to bring this in to the storyline. And I think that's where they're going, because normally personal stuff doesn't get brought into storylines.
I've got a theory on this. So once
I do
we
too.
get this, I'm going to give my theory on it. So go ahead.
Go ahead,
Well, my
Mike.
theory is that okay, at the very end of the match, you see the uncle and his father come out and put that around his neck, right? Maybe he's actually fully becoming the tribal chief, and they were jealous, and it's causing family issues, and Roman is actually legitimately feeling disrespected. That was my point of view on things.
Maybe, I don't know, but I
So
mean, you got.
here's
We'll
my
get to that once we get to the closing.
yeah.
We'll come back
He-
on your theory once we get to the closing marks on this one.
Mine or his?
His.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless
So
yours is on
here-
the same line, and if it is, we're going to fast forward and we're going to close.
Kind of, but not really. So I think there is a whole turmoil amongst the bloodline with everything that's going on, right?
Right.
Now, I honestly think that statement was being said to set up for a future match at a bigger stage with someone else. As in, I really do feel, and I've read all the theories online, but I really do feel this is going to be a story that continues through the rest of the year up until WrestleMania. And
It
I believe it
culminates
is
with Roman
where we
Reigns
see The
versus-
Rock and Reigns.
Yeah.
And I think this is what they're talking about. Dude, whatever's going on at home, we got you.
Right.
Like that's what I'm feeling, because there's been statements made in interviews with Rock saying he would love to have, like, he said something to McMahon about, hey, I think me and Roman WrestleMania would be a good would that's a money match.
Right.
And he's not wrong, because
And
you're going to get that real who is the
Bloodline.
tribal chief.
Right, exactly. And I honestly, I do
Because
think
you've got-
there is jealousy between the two of them.
And I can agree with that statement as well.
And I
Like,
honestly, I think it does, like, it does have to deal with the family line, because Rock left wrestling to go to Hollywood. Become a big name Hollywood. You know, he's got his own tequila. He's got all of his shit that's going on now. And
he's got his production studio.
Exactly.
He's got everything.
he's pretty much taken over the Fast and Furious franchises now. And
He technically, in my statement, The Rock is technically your head of the table.
right. And the thing is, Reigns feels like he shouldn't be, because he's not in the business. And this has always been a family business. The Anoa'i tribe has always, from way back in the day, for Appa and Sika, they've always been in the WWE. And they never ventured out to go do anything else. And then now you got The Rock. Technically, The Rock should be the tribal leader, because he's the oldest. He's been in the business the longest. He's got more runs at everything than any of them combined. And I honestly think that Roman feels The Rock shouldn't be in Hollywood. He should be in wrestling, leading them in the new faction. And since Rock won't do it, he's stepping up. And I think that's going to lead, like you said, to the feud at Mania.
Yeah, I think that's where in all honesty, I think the only way that you can play that story to its full potential is you give it the same backbone and the same story you've got going right now with Roman and Jay. You have that back and forth banner, and you have it to where it's not just the back and forth banner, but now it's a battle of the egos.
Right.
Look, I done this. I came into this and I put our name back on the map. Yeah, you continued it, but I'm the one who put our name, our family, back on this map.
Right. You left. I continued.
And I think that's where that story, I truly feel like that's where the story goes. And I honestly think that this whole stable of the Samoan dynasty, you've got Roman, you've got Jimmy, you've got Jay, you've got Tamina already in the WWE. I've read on some websites that there's potentially 2 more family members that are coming in.
Yeah.
One that has been featured in the WWE before with the whole storyline with Roman and Shane, and that would be Lance. And then if Jacob ends up being able to get to where his contract with MLW and everything doesn't pan out, they're potentially bringing in the Samoan Wolf, which is Jacob Fatu.
Right.
Which I will tell you now, indie wise, that is one of the guys that I follow because that man is a monster.
Right.
But that's, I mean, he's like the Rock, Umaga. Like, you take these key Samoans from this bloodline, if you was to fuse them all together and put it in a person, you've got him.
Right.
And honestly, I think if they get him into the WWE, into this, I believe you see another whole who's going to be the tribal chief happening between him and Roman because they're both big dogs.
Right, and I can tell you, right, like my prediction for that Mania match, if it does come to fruition, I honestly, like, I think they'll have, like, The Rock come back, and he'll do his usual banter with Roman, you know, it's like, I'm the original, you know, I led everything where it is and whatnot, you know, at the end of Mania, you're going to recognize me as your tribal chief, and it's going to end up in this big, massive battle with Roman on top. And Roman's going to look at Rock and basically say, I'm the tribal chief, go back to Hollywood. And basically cast him out of the WWE. And then that'll start the new.
In all honesty, I think that's going to be, like, I think that's how that ends because I know in that same interview where Rock is brought up, he said it would be an absolute honor to help my cousins,
right,
not just one but all, get into that place where he was.
Right.
And if that means he does it on his back, then he's doing what he has to see them get to where they need to be or where they should be. Because I'll say this, I think the Usos I think both of them should have been a lot bigger than what they've been used. Just talent wise. You can break them apart, you can keep them together, you can keep them on the same brand, you can do kind of, you know, you can do this and do that, but they both can hold their own by themselves.
And Jay is showing that right now with his going toe-to-toe with Roman.
Oh, yeah.
And he's also showing that he's got the banter, he can shit talk, especially when he's got that damn chair, and he's like, you love me? Well, I love you too, and then slams that chair across
oh my god,
back.
that was my favorite line up until I'm gonna whoop the dog shit out of you. That whole you love me? Okay, I love you too.
Getting into the Rock coming in and helping them out. That's kind of like John Cena coming in and helping out Bray Wyatt and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're seeing all these people from the Attitude Era start to come in and start to try to like make stars that they think are good, popular, and get them bigger, and give them a legacy to start living
on
and continuing.
Now, so 6. Go ahead and fast forward to the end.
All right, well, I got one more thing. Now, the thing with the Rock Reigns match, there's one way that I want to see this match unfold, and it's not in the age of COVID. It's not with the people on the TV screens.
Oh, God.
No,
This
I want
needs
that
to
live.
be in a fucking sold-out stadium.
Yeah.
Where you could hear the pops, the cheers, the boos, the Roman sucks, the Rocky sucks chants. Not the piped-in crowd that you got right now. This needs to be live. If you cannot do a live WrestleMania next year because of COVID still going on, you need to push this match back to where you can pack that stadium. Because this needs to be done in front of a live crowd. Not people on a TV screen.
Here's my take on that. With this storyline, like you could essentially push this as far as you needed to.
Exactly.
To get that outcome, and you wouldn't lose interest in the storyline.
Right. Yeah, you could push Mania back.
Yeah, well, let's face it, they're not going to push Mania back. We saw that this year.
Right.
I'm honestly I'm optimistic by the time Mania season rolls around, we should be able to be in, if not in a sold out, at least a half capacity arena.
Right.
You get a stadium. You get a stadium half filled. It's still going to be
loud.
Exactly. I mean, AEW has a third filled stadium.
Right.
or a third field Daly's place that they're shooting out of. And that crowd there is rambunctious,
Right.
even though it's like one section of the crowd.
Right.
And it feel like it comes through loud and clear, like that whole Daly's place is packed.
Right. And it's like you look at the old ECW. You know, they were in arenas, small arenas with like 2,000 people, compared to WWE's 30,000 people. You know, they were in like 5,000 studio like arenas and ballrooms, and they were loud as hell in there. You could do that, you know. But fast forwarding, we get to the match. You know, Roman's breaking down. He's in tears. And, you know, Heyman's outside the cage. Heyman doesn't know what the hell's going on. And then, you know, Jimmy sticks that hand out, and Roman embraces it. And then, you know, you get a little bit back and forth, where Roman's like, you know, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. Jimmy's like, it's okay, man, we're family. And then, all of a sudden, Roman snaps out of it and locks Jimmy in the guillotine headlock. And the whole entire time, Jimmy's sitting there just beating on Jay, trying to wake him up. And this is the part that I didn't like. You know, you just spent the last 10 minutes completely passed out cold. And then all of a sudden, you're just going to snap forward and wake up? Like, immediately, like, you're like that. You're like, oh my God, I quit. Like, hold on a second.
Here's the thing on that, and here's something that I feel like this was a fail point on the cameras, or on the guys in the production truck. Because I'm almost positive there was a camera somewhere that had it. But if you watch as Jimmy is pulling at Jay's leg and slapping Jay's leg, like there's a slow movement, and you slowly see his hand come into the shot, and he's grabbing at Jay or at Jimmy.
Right.
And it's like when he does come to, he sees what's going on, and there's that second adrenaline rush of and you see him instantly just respond to that adrenaline.
Right.
And he's trying to pull Roman off of him, and he's trying to get Jimmy out. And that's when you hear Jay yelling, I quit, let him go, I quit.
Right.
And it's that you have my brother now.
Right.
He has nothing to do with this. This was between us. What are you doing?
Now you drug
Let him go.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like I said, I think that was just a bad shot on the camera angles. I think the response was the way that it should have came across. It just wasn't shot in the cameras right.
And then you got the cage the cage goes up, the title belt comes in, Roman holds the belt over them, and then you can see him leave. He gets down, Paul Heyman walks around the ring. As they're walking up the ramp, Roman stops. The camera is facing Roman. So you see Roman stop, and then you see Paul Heyman stop, and Roman's looking up on the stage.
Now, I've got a question. Did you catch, because there's a key moment that lets you know something big is going on, and it wasn't from Roman's response. It was from Paul's face.
I didn't.
It was from Heyman's face. There was this shock and confused look on his face on what's going on. And that's when the camera turns.
That's when the camera turns, and that's when you see Appa and Sika wearing their traditional Hawaiian lades, the Samoan lades around their neck. And Roman walks up, embraces one, embraces the other, and then I think it was his dad.
It was Sika that presented him with the tribal chief beads, which is his father,
the head of the table.
Yeah.
At that point, so now you've got the tribal chief proclaimed by the two greats in the Anoa'i family. So now Roman Reigns has sealed his head of the table as the tribal chief. Which leads us to question now, how long will it take Jimmy and Jay to fall in suit?
Oh, can I just take a moment to go back to the end of the match really quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you said that he was screaming, I quit. The reason why I said that Reigns didn't feel like he had been acknowledged is because that was after the match was already ended.
No, the match was not ended. The match did not end, and the bell was not signaled or anything until the I quit was said.
Right.
So the match was still
wrestler saying
going.
to end the match.
Right.
But
Match was
then,
still going,
you
and
know,
then when Jay started screaming, "I quit," one of the officials that was outside heard him say, "I quit," and that's when they called for the bell, and that's when Roman broke the hold.
Because you can hear the ref saying he said I quit. He said I quit. Ring the bell.
Ring it.
But so yeah, he made Jay say I quit.
Yeah.
The thing with it is that, and I know where you could see it as the match was ending because of all of the commotion going on and the cell door being open and everyone being in the ring trying to stop it, this, that, and the other. But that's one of those storytelling elements of every time they tried to stop it, Reigns stopped them from stopping it.
Yeah.
Right.
So the match never ended.
Yeah, he didn't want the match to end in a no contest.
It was going to end with one of them saying I quit one way or the other.
Exactly. Even if it took all damn night.
Yeah.
All right,
now
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that I really enjoyed the fact of seeing the Wild Samoan, seeing Alpha, and seeing Sika, because Sika being Reigns' father,
right,
and both of them being uncles to all, in some form or fashion, being uncle or right there with the three boys.
right.
The one that was missing from it was, of course, Jimmy and Jay's dad, Rikishi. Now, granted,
if Eddie Fatu was still alive, Umaga probably would have been out there as well.
Oh yeah. Now the kicker to that is with everything and them standing there, they are technically the official elders of that bloodline,
Right.
because High Chief is gone. The Rock is not an elder in the bloodline yet.
Right.
It's literally just Alpha and Sika, so they are the ones to choose who the tribal chief would be next.
Right.
So, like that, seeing that and how that all corresponds and reacted, like I thoroughly enjoyed that.
That was a good match.
Yes.
Now let's go back to what Merrick was talking about with your prediction or your thoughts on what was going on. When you were talking about the ending with the two of them with Alpha and Sika up on the stage and everything like that.
Well, it kind of ties into what Puppet was saying, kind of, but it's more of just actually more realistically happening at home kind of thing.
Right.
Like maybe they were actually fighting to be tribal chief, and that he actually won it, and that's part of how the storyline got put there.
Right.
But Puppet did make a good point of bringing in that The Rock technically should be the tribal chief because he is the eldest in the bunch right there.
Right. And I do feel he would be the tribal chief if he was still full time. If he hadn't left wrestling to go to Hollywood, I feel he would be the tribal chief over Roman Reigns, and the feud would be between him and Roman, and not Roman and Jay.
That definitely would be a WrestleMania match for sure. And as for filling in the stands and stuff like that, they could do the 6 feet apart thing and still have enough people to make it seem like it's full.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You could run a stadium show half capacity.
Right. I mean, you could still do half capacity and still have the monitors and everything filling up the gaps. So you're at least making, that $10 a person or whatever it is that you're making.
At the end of the day, there's so many ways they can go with this story. There really is. I mean, it's endless possibilities. It just depends on what they decide to do.
Right.
So I just got to keep your mind open and expect the unexpected when it comes to it. Is what I'd say.
Right.
Well, and it also kind of plays into something that Sam Roberts had said in one of his things was, as wrestling fans, like there's a certain point to where we're like, I can follow you, but I don't know if this makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it can go one of two ways. Either it's going to turn someone off, or they're going to be like, you know what, I'm going to go with it. Let's see what happens. And it can pay off. But in this one, it's such a realistic storyline of fighting within the family for who is Who is going to take us into the next generation? Who is leading us into that it is? I don't think there's a point that you can go where it's not believable, as long as you keep it family related.
Right. And the thing with this faction is, if you've been watching wrestling since like the 80s, you know who the Anoa'i family is.
Yeah.
You know what's going on. You know that they are dedicated to WWE. Every single one of them, at one point in time, lands in the WWE and wrestles.
So just, and if someone is watching that doesn't know, all right, it starts with High Chief Peter Maivia. Then it goes down to the Wild Samoans, Yokozuna, Umaga,
Rikishi.
Yeah,
Appa,
Rikishi. Well, there's your Wild Samoans. Right. The Rock, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Tamina, Roman, Jimmy, Jay. Then you've got Tama Tonga, who is over in New Japan.
Right.
You've got Ming, who's part of that bloodline. You have, or King Haku, however you want to refer to him as.
Ming, that was his WCW name.
But yeah, well, Haku, Ming, hell, he still goes by all of them. But you've got Ming, then you've got all three of his boys that are all three in New Japan.
Right.
And like that's 11. Right. Yeah, that's 11, and there's still, you've got Jacob Fatu, you've got Lance you've got Lance, you've got The Rock's daughter Simone.
Yep.
Like,
and she's actually in NXT right now.
Well, no, she's enrolled in the Performance Center. She was in one of the last classes.
Yeah, she's coming out soon too.
That's 20 people from one family that have been in wrestling.
Right. And a lot of people don't know this, but when Rock first started out, he started out under the name Rocky Maivia.
Yeah.
2 names that he got from his grandfather, High Chief Peter Maivia, and his dad, Rocky Johnson.
Exactly.
And then he decided to drop the E and the Maivia and just go by Rock at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where, when you list them out, High Chief Peter Maivia, World Champion. The Rock, World Champion. Yokozuna, World Champion. Roman Reigns, World Champion. Like, you've got all, and if they didn't have World Champions, they had tag team titles, Intercontinental titles,
United States titles.
They've all held, like everyone in that family
has held gold
anywhere they've been. And it's one of those things, like, that is the royal family of wrestling.
Right.
In some way, shape, or form, they've always ran part of WWE. Don't matter if it's World Champions.
Yeah.
Right. And even in the background, Appa and Sika, they have something to say. Vince listens to them. Rikishi has a say. He listens to Rikishi. He, in some way, shape, or form, he talks to The Rock at least once a week, once a month, to get his input on how they should handle the storylines and everything. Because when it comes to the royal blood, when it comes to the Anoa'i family bloodline, to the Samoan bloodline, you don't just go out there and
that's a sacred bloodline in wrestling.
Right. You don't go out there and wing it. It's like, you look at the movie, I forgot the name of it already, where The Rock played Maui. Moana.
Oh, yeah, Moana.
Before they even made that movie, they actually flew out there and they talked to the different tribes and different people, the different high chiefs of those tribes, to get their input on how they should proceed with this movie. To get input. Because this is a sacred culture. And if you don't do it right, you piss them off and you will offend a lot of people.
Yeah, that's something that...
And Maui is something that they believe in.
Yeah, and here's the other funny thing with Samoans in wrestling. So you go back to the territory days, 90% of the time, your promoters they would reach out to the Wild Samoans and be like, "Hey, are y'all in this town? Are y'all working this town? If not, can y'all come do security for us?
Right.
Or have y'all got family that can come do security for us?" Because let's face it, Samoans are not. They, I have utmost respect for Samoans because one, if I'm getting into a fight, I want to
One
know
in
that
my
I've got.
corner.
Yeah, I want them in my corner first.
So, like, you don't want to go up
Second of
against
all,
them.
if they say, "Hey, you're done," yes, sir. You know I am done. You know I'm going to go home.
I'm out the door. I'm
That's
taking the
how
next
done
flight. I'll be. Where's our next city? Tulsa? I'll be in Tulsa.
Like it's a respected culture
Right.
because of just how much they keep
Right.
to themselves and keep their culture just thriving on their own.
Right.
Like it's amazing, and it's very respectable.
Right.
So when you deal with a storyline like this, and you've got this royal family or this royal bloodline, you're not going to be like, "All right, creative, give us the story." No, you're going like I
hey,
guarantee you're
hey,
right. You're going to be on the
right.
phone with Alpha Seeker. You're
Like,
going to be
hey,
on the
hey,
phone.
Appa, hey, Sika, hey, how do we
You're
proceed
going,
with this storyline?
and it's not just going to be like Alpha Seeker, The Rock, Quiche, Ming, and all them. You're on the phone with the wives too. You're on the phone with
Right.
The Rock's mother.
It's Vince
Like,
picking up the phone saying, "Hey guys, we need you at headquarters. The jet is already at the airport. Get there. We got you in the presidential suite. We need to figure this out."
Like that's and just having Jimmy J, Roman, and Tamina there, like you have that culture, you have that influence right there in your. Hey guys, I need y'all at headquarters so we can pan this out.
Yep. Whether people agree to it or they like it or not, the Anoa'i family paved the way for the WWE.
Oh yeah,
Big time.
like that family built.
Right.
Like a lot of people say, WWE was built on Hulk Hogan's back.
No.
The WWE or the WWF, yes, it was.
Yeah.
But the WWF,
Right.
which was Vince's father,
Right.
that was built on the Samoans' back.
Right.
That was built on Alpha, Sika, High Chief, and Rocky.
Right.
Rocky Johnson. A lot of people don't want to associate him with the bloodline, but he married into the bloodline. He was inducted into the bloodline by High Chief Peter Maivia.
Yep.
He's just as much a bloodline as anyone else at that point.
Right. Right. As much as I hate to end the discussion, we've been on this one for an hour.
Oh yeah, we still got 2 more cell.
We got 4 more matches we got to go over.
We at least have 2 more cell matches. Because let's be honest, the other matches were just Jeff Hardy wins by DQ.
Right. So
or loses by DQ.
Let's get the go home on this one. Puppet, what did you rate this match?
Me, I gave this match a. This match I gave a 9 out of 10.
Okay, Merrick, what did you rate this match?
We are talking about the first match, correct?
Yes, the first match.
This match specifically, I would give a 10 out of 10, just because I like the way it's played out. And the trash talking and stuff like that.
Right. I gave it a 10 out of 10 for the same reason. 10 out of 10.
So I gave it, and I will say this, I gave it a 9 out of 10 because the one thing that I liked about it was how the trash talking and like I said, Roman Reigns.
Right.
I'm leaving then. We just gonna at the same time that kind of cluttered the match there at the end.
Yeah. Okay.
Did it take away from the match? No, but that's why I gave it a 9 out of 10.
All right, match 2. Elias Sampson versus Jeff Hardy. My opinion, straight off the bat on this match, this should have been left as a Monday Night Raw feud, not a pay-per-view feud. This match was trash. Straight up trash. You know, there was some good back and forth at the beginning of the match, but It was nothing to just wow everybody. And the damn match ended on the outside of the ring with Jeff Hardy smashing a guitar on Elias's back. The end. Nothing else. No spectacular
I'm gonna
moments.
be honest with you. I 100% forgot this match was even on the card for that yesterday night
Right.
until it happened because I didn't really care about it.
Right.
And honestly, just to skip to the end of this one, I would give this one a 4 out of 10 because it sucked. It was not really worth watching.
Now,
They could have done something a lot better.
They
so
should have left it off the card.
here's my take on this. Should it have been on the card? It probably, in my opinion, I'm a very big Jeff Hardy fan, and I think Elias is a future champion.
I love Jeff Hardy. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
Right.
But when I say that R-Truth and Drew Gulak had a better match on the kickoff show than that match,
Right.
like that's bad because I mean at that point R-Truth and Gulak for the 24/7 title should have been on the main card.
24/7, 7-Eleven.
But
and at the beginning, when Gulag is talking with little Jimmy and does the handshake and the little makeshift handshake and puts him on his knee and like looks at R-Truth and just kind of gives a thumbs up and then kicks him. I mean, it's just
poor little Jimmy could have been rushed to the hospital. We don't know.
We don't even know. Little Jimmy's at the hospital. He's at child intensive care right now because he got fucking kicked.
But the one thing that I will give this match is I like how they had Elias play to Hardy's weakness and get him frustrated to the point where he used the guitar and just obliterated that guitar on Elias's back.
On Elias's back, right. In case you don't know, Hardy's had a problem in the past with substance abuse and alcohol, and the song that Elias was singing was basically poking fun at Hardy. And, you know, at one point of the line, one of the lines of the song when he was singing, they basically say WWE stands for Walk with Elias, Jeff Hardy stands for DUI.
Yeah.
So
I mean, is it a good storyline? No, because I think that with everything going on and Jeff trying to have his last run not be remembered for what his past was.
Right.
I think that with the whole Sheamus thing, okay, cool. You end it with the Sheamus thing. Now I see, yes, they're tying up the loose ends because part of that storyline was Sheamus hit Elias with the car. Elias thinks it's Jeff, so on and so forth. But you can't really wrap that storyline up because Sheamus is on SmackDown.
Right.
Or Sheamus is on the other brand.
Right.
Exactly. And it's one of those things where you can't really clean it up.
Exactly.
So
what did you rate this one up at?
I gave this match a 3.
I gave it a 3 as well. Yeah. A 3 out of 10.
I said 4, but that's being generous.
I gave it a 3. The only thing that saved it was the storyline details of it.
Right.
The match itself, like it
if
they gave them if they would have gave them a match, it would have been much better.
Right.
But I also think the first match, kind of like we did, the first match kind of went over on time.
It went over on time, especially with the ceremony afterwards and everything. So, and even at that, I mean, it's like, so now, and the thing about this pay-per-view is normally they start at 6 p.m. Central and it ends at 10. But this one cut off like right before 9 o'clock Central. So this thing was only about 3 hours long, if you don't count the pre-show. So for some reason, I don't know why they decided to shorten this pay-per-view, but when you're down to a 3-hour window, your first match is a 10 out of 10 and is over the top, runs over. The next 2 matches are going to have to be shortened, and that's exactly what happened. So you got...
I mean, I don't understand why they put that match first, the very first match anyways, because how the fuck does any of the other matches follow that?
They have to be big. That's why me and Puppet were saying the Drew McIntyre Randy Orton should have been at the head of the card, and Reigns and Uso should have been at the end. But for some reason, they wanted to start big because it's a big storyline, which I can get. You know, you don't want to start with like a weak story. Like in the past, what they've done is they've had like the the nobodies come out first at the first of the pay-per-view, and you're at a point now where if you don't have the WWE, if you're not paying $10 for the network to watch the pay-per-views, then the only option that you have is to pay $85 a month on your regular cable bill to watch the pay-per-view. So now we're in the era where it's all digital, where everybody's paying $10. So it doesn't matter.
I am going to shamelessly plug the network when you get done. So
it doesn't matter if you miss this pay-per-view, because you can just go back and watch it again. Back in the day, when you were paying $40 for a pay-per-view, it didn't matter how the pay-per-view started or how it ended. You know,
you better have that VCR ready. That's
you invested $45. You were watching it. Now it's like, okay, I'm paying $10 a month. Oh, you're starting with Elias and Jeff Hardy. This match is shit. I'm just gonna wait for it to be over, and then tomorrow I'm gonna watch it and just skip over this match. So you have to start with something big to grab the attention of everybody that's watching. So that's why they started it with Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. Is now you're invested. You've already spent 45 minutes watching this match. Now you want to see how the rest of them are going to be. So basically, the way this pay-per-view was laid out, the way I see it is this. Big match to start out. 2 and 3 were shit. Match 4 was good. 5 was shit. And then the final match was good. And the 3 matches out of this whole 6-card event that were good were your Hell in a Cell matches. And that's it.
Oh, speaking of that, let's go ahead and move on to match 3.
Right,
so
match 3. Otis versus The Miz. For the Money in the Bank contract match.
I feel like we're going to get heated on this one.
The backstory for this, it goes back to Money in the Bank. Or was it Money in the Bank or was it Mania?
Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank. No.
Yeah, no. This story stems from Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank happened.
That was the corporate. Corporate climbed the ladder, wasn't it? I thought that was Mania.
Yeah. It happened in headquarters. So Miz and Mania. I don't remember who the other person was on top of the ladder fighting over the briefcase. Well, they both lost the briefcase, and Otis caught it and won the match.
Right. Falls right into the hands of Otis.
Yeah.
340-pound Otis.
So that's where this story stems from.
So overall, from what I can gather, from Money in the Bank all the way up until Hell in a Cell, Otis has not cashed in the Money in the Bank. And the storyline from what I gathered is that they made it look like Otis was treating it like a joke, and he wasn't taking it serious. To the point that he even had a little lunchbox made that said Money in the Bank on it. So then it gets to this whole Law and Order parody, where Miz apparently took Otis to court with JBL as the judge, as Teddy Long as the stenographer, Ron Simmons, a.k.a. Farouk, as the bailiff, and then he had...
You ain't getting a better bailiff than Ron Simmons.
Right, and then who was his counterpart? Who was Miz's counterpart? Morrison. Morrison was there, and then I think it was Tucker next to Otis. So this whole thing, the whole mock trial went underway, and then it ended with Miz bribing JBL to rule in his favor. So JBL rules that there will be a match at Hell in a Cell for the Money in the Bank contract. The winner gets the briefcase with the contract and a shot at a title whenever they so choose. So now we fast forward to Hell in a Cell. Otis versus The Miz with the Money in the Bank contract on the line. John Morrison is on the side, is on Miz's corner, and Tucker is in Otis's corner. Puppet,
Tucky.
I'll let you take this one.
Wait, who's taking this one?
Whoever. Puppet, Merrick.
Go ahead. I'll let you have this one.
Okay, so I'm gonna be absolutely honest. My entire favorite storyline, besides the bloodline with Roman Reigns and then the whole Alexa Bliss Fiend thing, was the Otis Mandy Rose storyline, because that was amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, this storyline, like I called it when it started 2 weeks ago, or when it really got into it 2 weeks ago, and the draft happened and the split of Heavy Machinery, there was a turn coming somewhere. It was either going to be Mandy Rose showing back up and turning, or it was going to be Tucky. The match is going. Honestly, a lot of the offense in the match was Otis.
Right.
Miz didn't get a whole lot of solid offense. He had his moments, but most of it was Otis on the offensive. Then it kind of spills. You could tell it was being rushed, first of all.
Right.
But then it kind of spills to where, all right, well, John Morrison is going to hit Otis with the briefcase. Well, he's caught and apparently tries to hide the briefcase behind his back, even though you can clearly see the briefcase behind his back.
And the ref
not doing nothing.
Right. And when the ref
throws
turned
him
around,
out.
Ref turns around. He's got the briefcase. He's like, right here. And then he goes,
oh, yeah, he's
reared
nothing. Back. And then, the ref sees him, says, hey, and he slowly eases it behind his back like, you don't see this. So, Morrison gets ejected from the match. Then, there's a sequence going on. Miz trips up Otis, or avoids Otis from a shoulder tackle. He hits the ropes between the top and middle rope, and then Tucky just lays in with one of those blasts with the briefcase to Otis, and stands there jaw jacking while Miz is just shocked on what's going on.
Right.
And it's pin 1, 2, 3. Miz takes the win off of the turn from Tucker where he hits Otis. Like I said, it was really rushed.
Yeah.
And I said we were probably going to get heated on this one. That was a big joke.
The best part of that match was honestly at the end, where Otis goes in while they're being interviewed, knocks the Miz clean the fuck off the floor, and he goes flying, and then starts chasing after Tucker.
It wasn't just the Miz. He cleans Miz and Morrison to the floor with he body blocks one into the other one, rolling, and then him and Tucker just fighting to the back.
And Tucker runs off, and you just see the short little fat guy just chasing after him. And all the referee officials are going after him, too. And I'm like, what the fuck y'all gonna do?
So, here's my biggest issue with this. You just did a turn, and it was amongst a tag team. Again, that's not on the same brand.
Exactly. So now,
you're pushing these separate brands, but now you've got storylines that are mixed between brands.
Right. And now how do you proceed with this? Because Tucker turned on Otis. Tucker's on SmackDown. Otis is on Raw.
No. Other way around. Otis is on SmackDown. Tucker's on Raw. Miz and Morrison and Mandy Rose is on. So everything that was attached. Oh, and wait, no. I think Ziggler and Rudes ended up on SmackDown, right?
I don't know. I didn't watch the draft.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. So literally, the only thing that you have to be able to tie up or finish any of these storylines off is you have Otis and Dolph Ziggler, which was the main catalyst for the Mandy Rose storyline.
Right.
And it's like, I want to see how they're going to clean up these storylines.
Exactly. You're not going to be able to. Now, I have a strong feeling that it's just going to be forgotten. They're going to move on.
But they're going to hope everyone forgets. But the problem is they're not going to forget the Mandy Rose Otis storyline. Because everyone, that was the WrestleMania moment for night 2.
Right.
Was the kiss in an empty arena.
Right. The Royal Rumble moment, wherever he slides out under the ring, just you don't see him, and he's there, boom, catches her. That's what I'm saying. That story had more into it than the Money in the Bank did.
Right. Exactly.
Now, the whole reason I said I think we'll get heated on this is because I think they made the call to move the Money in the Bank briefcase from Otis to Miz was to protect Otis. And I say that because I think what they're trying to do with Otis is make him into a main event caliber superstar because everyone loves him.
Right.
I mean, Jesus Christ, he's like Big E.
Right.
You can't help but like him.
Right.
Now you can't sit here and have him with the briefcase. And earlier when we were talking in private, I do like Merrick's idea of have him be the first person to use the briefcase to cash in for Intercontinental. Then the more I thought about it, the only catch to that is that briefcase specifically states it is for a Universal or WWE Championship.
Right.
Well, back in the day, you got to remember, I've seen that thing cashed in for some dumber shit than that.
The only thing that I've seen Money in the Bank cashed in for was the world title, or when they introduced the females was for the female titles. And that's, I've never seen anyone cash in for the IC. I've never seen it cashed in. Now TNA they ripped it off and did the Feast or Fired, where there was 4 poles, 4 briefcases. One was this title, one was tag team title, one was the world title, and one was you're fired. There's ways that they could do it. I would love to see a tag team Money in the Bank.
Right.
That is something I would love to see.
That would be
because
nice to see.
I'm a very big fan of tag team wrestling.
I would say, the part of me was thinking I'd love to see a 24/7 Money in the Bank, but that damn thing's up all the time anyway, so
man,
it don't fucking matter.
The whole point of what I was trying to say though earlier is there's so many, kind of like I said with the other match, there's so many different directions they could have took that, so many ways they could have settled that, or they could have even made the Money in Bank for something changed it up a little bit, how it's used, how it works, stuff like that.
Right.
They just went with that direction. I think there was a better direction they could have went with to start with, and they could have done it sooner before now.
Yeah,
see,
I think they had a different route that they were planning to take, but like I said, the first match ran over, so now they're rushing they're trying to get back on track because they know that our next match, the next Hell in a Cell match, is gonna run long again, which then leads into the next match, which has to be cut short because at that point the first match ran long, your second Hell in a Cell match is gonna go long. And then your third one is going to be long as well, so you have to condense everything else. So I think there might have been a grander storyline that was being built up for this, but they couldn't sell it because
you need everything to fit in your
in
time
your
slot.
3-hour window.
But here's the thing: they're showing it on the network. Now, yes, they're also showing it on major pay-per-view outlets, whatnot. So they do have a time window there.
Right.
But I've made this statement time and time again. Oh, and I also said I was going to shamelessly plug the network.
$9.99.
So for $9.99, right? Not only do you get WWE pay-per-views, you get all of the WCW pay-per-views, the ECW pay-per-views, and now you also get independent wrestling on there. From Evolve, WXW, Progress, ICW, which if y'all have not watched ICW, definitely watch it because it is Attitude Era, to the T modern day. But it's not a bad price for $9.99 a month. For everything that you get. Also, you get the really good documentaries like the Untold series that they do. You can watch the mini documentary Undertaker's Last Ride, whatnot.
Right.
That's out of the way. We're not sponsored by them.
The previous ad was brought to you in part by Puppet Master 2191.
Yes,
we are
that
no
was
way
just a spur of the moment.
With the WWE. We are not
receiving spur of the moment on me.
We are not receiving kickbacks.
If they would like to reach out to me and work something out, my email is open. So if anyone from the WWE catches wind, I'm here. But now. The Money in the Bank match, I'd give it a 4 just because of the turn.
I gave it a 2.
But I feel like this was more than likely the best direction to go because I think Miz is going to be the first person to actually have the contract in both cashing in successfully and unsuccessfully.
Who is he going to go after?
I think he's going to make the mistake and go after the Universal Champion or not the Universal,
I think
but
he'll
he's going after the WWE title. But I think he's going to make the mistake and do it when it goes over to Bray Wyatt again.
Well, hear me out here. What if, say Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre go against each other again, correct? And,
Yeah.
say Randy wins again, Miz is going to come out there and cash in and try to take Randy out.
Miz is not going to cash in on Randy. They're not. So here's the thing. Randy's the golden goose.
I know he is.
Randy and McIntyre are the golden geese in Raw. They're not going to do anything to damage them. And cashing in the Money in the Bank would.
Well, I mean, I ain't saying he's going to win. I'm just saying I foresee that trying to happen. Because Miz has always been kind of a sneaky person. He'll wait until the last moment. Someone's really down and hurt. He'll, that would be the moment he'd cash it in. But to his surprise, it's Randy Orton or Drew McIntyre. It ain't going to happen.
I still say it's going to be the Fiend.
What I think is going to... My thoughts on this is what I think is going to happen is he's going to make the mistake and try and cash in against Roman whenever he's having a feud with like one of the Usos again. And Roman's going to clock him and lay him out and pin him 1, 2, 3. And it's going to be a failed attempt. And Roman's going to use that to solidify his storyline of being the tribal chief. Saying, anybody can challenge me, I will put him down.
See, I think what's going to happen is it's going to be they're coming off of Orton, McIntyre, setting up for Orton and Wyatt. Wyatt's going to end up with the WWE Championship for a short run.
Right.
Miz is going to cash in on Wyatt unsuccessfully. And it will probably happen after McIntyre gets another shot at the title. And then Orton's going to come back in and be like, hey, I never got my rematch for my title. It's going to be Orton the Fiend. Orton takes it, goes to Mania, where we're going to have the WWE Championship match of Randy Orton and Edge for the WWE Championship. And that's going to give Edge his last run as champion. That's how I say it plays out.
I could see that happen. The only flaw that I see in that is WWE eliminated their rule of an automatic rematch once you drop a title. So that's the only flaw to that storyline that I see.
So there is, but I've also watched them do it after they said that that's gone.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying.
And it really depends on who they have in line that could be the next contender, really, and how deep the storyline is going.
I mean, there for a little bit, they was just someone walking there. Oh, I want a shot at the title. And then they'd get the shot. It didn't even matter if they deserved it or not. Like, it's fucking stupid.
Right.
That's kind of like Rey Mysterio, for instance. They're not using him to the best of his ability, but I understand why. I mean, Dominic's coming in, but they should be like going for tag team right now. Tag team champs or something.
Exactly.
Just to get Dominic started, get his feet wet.
Right. Exactly.
And Rey Mysterio is a dominant kind of person for his size. Like, I've seen him
bring back the cruiserweight
show and shit like that. Yeah.
Look, all I'm gonna say is, I think how they did Rey Mysterio, how they're using Rey Mysterio, Dominic, and everything in the program that they've got him in. I think that's perfect for them.
Yeah.
I think they kept it going too long though.
I don't, because it's not finished, because it's evolved.
What was that brand that they had that they ran after SmackDown? Was it Lucha Underground or something, or?
So Lucha Underground was done by El Rey Network.
Who was it? What was the? Because I went to a SmackDown show about 2 years ago.
No. Okay, you're talking about 205.
205, yeah, that 205 Live, yeah.
They still do it.
What they need to do is they need to incorporate 205 in with the roster like they used to do. Where, WCW had the cruiserweight or the light heavyweight title, and then you had the cruiserweight in WWE. They need to bring back a variation of the cruiserweight title.
So they have the cruiserweight title.
It's the issue Live, isn't it?
No. It's NXT. So now NXT, most of their competitors are on 205 Live as well, which I like that, because that title fits for NXT. It doesn't
Right.
really fit in the WWE landscape
Right.
because I mean, you've got Dominic, you've got Lucha House Party, and you got Ray. Like that's mainly your that's the majority of your cruiserweights.
Right. But you could always bring in some of the guys from 205.
Yeah,
And
you could
fill those ranks. But then again, you're running into more time constraints because you only allow 3 hours on Raw and you only allow 2-3 hours on SmackDown of airtime, and you're trying to fit all these matches in, and you got so many storylines that you're trying to work in. So sometimes it's best just to have separate shows.
That's why I say I think the storyline that they've got going with Ray and Dominique and Seth and Buddy Murphy, I think that's perfect because, first of all, in the WWE landscape, Dominique is the son of Rey Mysterio and has been trained by Ray, Conan, Lance Storm. Like, before Dominique stepped into the ring, he's been through 2 years of training with different trainers.
Right.
Now he's getting the polish.
Right.
From
he's had like
Ray,
2 years of official training. Unofficially, he's probably been
now,
trained since he could walk.
Well, and now he's in that polishing stage. And who better to put him in the ring with than his father, Seth Rollins, and Buddy Murphy?
Right.
If you can't get polished between the three of them, you're not going to make it.
Exactly.
Because while a lot of people don't look at Buddy Murphy as, you know, a major thing, he came out and he held his own in a match that everyone thought he wouldn't with Roman Reigns. Right. Then he turned around and did it with AJ Styles. And then he turned around and did it with Seth Rollins.
Right.
And Aleister Black, that was a good match too.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And him and Aleister showed, hey, this is why we're here.
Right.
Buddy Murphy's style matches Dominique's to a T. You get your nerves and everything out of the way by working with Seth Rollins, and you get comfortable on the microphone by working with Seth Rollins. And you have your father, who's the GOAT of all Lucha Libre.
Right.
That's there to critique you during the match, after the match, before the match. Like you've got like the three guys that he's paired with right now. You couldn't pair him with anyone better because he's going to get his wings. He's going to pick up the microphone better, which he's already started to do. And to keep the story evolving, or to keep it from being the same story, you've got the story that is evolving now with the whole Buddy Murphy, Aaliyah, Mysterio family thing and the branching from Seth to kind of pull Seth out of that storyline and to change it to Dominique and Buddy Murphy solely. That way Seth can get into a program on his own with Daniel Bryan. Right. So as far as like, I think, and I truly, honestly think that this is Rey. I believe 100% of this is Rey Mysterio. This is how he wants it done. Because Rey has openly said, you know, hey, I'm at the end of my career. I know that. Yeah, I do want to have one more good run, and I think he's going to get one more good run. But before he does it, I think he's going to make sure that Dominic is planted, and Aaliyah is planted where she wants to be. Because right now she's still in college. She doesn't want to work full time with WWE. So they are working with her so she can finish her college degree, and then the Mysterio family will be the second family of the WWE.
Right.
And I think that's going to be good because I think that leads down the road into a storyline of Roman or the Samoans and the Anoa'i and the Mysterio families battling it out. But that's a whole fantasy book.
Off in the future.
Yeah, that's a whole fantasy book.
Right, and that will take us off track, which means let's get back on track here now.
Before we switch real quick, and I do want to get back on track, I want to go back to what Six said about the cruiserweights going up in WWE.
Right.
What was Bobby Lashley's partner, the one that kept getting the cruiserweight guy? You know who I'm
Cedric.
talking about? Yeah, didn't he get injured like every single time he got in the ring with one of the bigger guys?
Pretty
like
much.
legitimately injured. Yeah, see, that's
Pretty
why
much,
I'm
yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like the cruiserweights landscape is a whole lot better on NXT than it is on the main.
exactly.
It's better on its own, and it's better with 205 Live.
Yeah.
Because then
anyways,
you actually get with 205 Live, you actually get like 2 hours, 3 hours of its own broadcast to dedicate strictly to just them.
But we need to go ahead and start moving on to the next match.
Right.
We're gonna be sitting here all night.
Right. All right. Match 4. The next Hell in a Cell for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley versus the Boss, Sasha Banks.
I want to start this one off.
Go ahead.
One of the big things that came from this match is at the very start was Bayley walking to the ring with that chair that Sasha used. It symbolized a lot for her, I think, and the fact that she wanted to beat her. But at the same time, it was a symbol for, let's say, Sasha, because she knew that she could beat her. That gave her more hope, in my opinion. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, bringing it out.
Right.
Trying to intimidate her with it, but it didn't really work.
Right. Bayley gets in the ring with the chair, and then while she's not paying attention or something, Sasha basically drop kicks the chair as the cell is lowering, and it gets locked outside. And then at that point, Bayley's like, okay, my weapon is gone now. And at that point, the fight ensues. And, at one point, we end up with, like, both of the women outside the ring, and Banks is beating the hell out of Bayley. And she looks at Bayley, and she's like, I don't need no chair. Which is stupid, because later on, she's using a damn chair.
Yeah, which another thing about this match, I think we get to see the more kind of like old school Sasha Banks, I'm the fucking boss, I'll do whatever the fuck I want.
Right, exactly.
Which we ain't seen in a little while. But,
right.
She's always got this thing where she'll get a title and she loses it within like 1 or 2 chances. I think this time she's going to keep the title for a little bit.
Right. And see, when you in the first match with Reigns and Uso, the only 2 weapons that you saw being used was the strap and the stairs. In this match, you've got chairs, tables, ladders, fire extinguisher being used. Wasn't it this one?
This one was a fire extinguisher. I didn't see a ladder.
Kendo sticks. I think there was a ladder. Hang on, I got like 11
there may have
paragraphs
been. I don't know.
They used every weapon that was under the fucking ring, basically.
I kept waiting on someone to use the toolbox that was under the ring.
Right, exactly. Like Bayley sets up a ladder.
I kept seeing it. Now,
dude, you see
I do
come out.
I do want to point out that one of my favorite parts from this match was Bayley and the duct tape and looking at the ref. Hey, can you do this? My hands are sweaty.
She's sitting there. She's trying to get it and everything. She can't get it unrolled, and she looks at the ref. She's like, "I'm too sweaty. Can you do this for me?" And the ref's like, "No, I'm not doing it for you."
And then later on, whenever she's trying to wrap the kendo sticks together, she does like 3 or 4 times, and you're just like this, and then she lets it go, and just goes.
Right.
And like you hear Corey Graves go, I love the ingenuity, and she goes, do you think it was good? Because it didn't work.
And then she about trips over it because she's getting flushed over herself, and I was laughing.
Right, and that's part of the WWE that I miss, like the banter from the announcers to the performers in the ring. You don't see that much anymore. And then it's like you got Bayley sitting there just like, you think it looks good? And then what was it? Michael Cole's like, I think it looks like crap.
Well, see, I thought Bayley did better whenever she was actually not a heel. She was trying to be a good person, but But
right.
Getting to the start of this match, you got Sasha drop kicking the chair under the sails is coming down, and Sasha starts out beating Bayley's ass for the most part, in my opinion. Well, it kind of gets turned around on Sasha, and there's a bunch of moments where Sasha literally got tilted in the face, and I don't think it was supposed to be on purpose. 100%.
Yeah,
whenever she banged her head on the side of the ring, whenever she was trapped into the apron.
Right.
And
when she hit the steel bar.
She's like, what the fuck?
Bayley realized she screwed up because Banks is literally knocked out because she slammed her head against that damn support beam. And also, back towards the beginning, Bayley wedges a chair between the turnbuckles, and then she attempts to throw Banks into it, but she slides out of the way, and instead she pulls Bayley into the chair, and that somehow sets up Bayley hitting a sunset flip over
It
Banks
literally,
and power bombing her into basically doing like a modified power bomb, sitting power bomb into the chair.
and Banks hitting
And
nothing but her neck.
right,
Literally
and you see
nothing but her
Banks
neck.
like the back of her head and her neck just slamming into that chair.
And I feel like Banks has got a lot of receipts to cash in against Bailey for this match.
Right. This is not over.
I feel as though like the whole receipt thing between them, I don't think that really exists with them because they are such good friends. They know that somewhere along the way someone's going to slip up, and then somewhere along the way down the road the other one's going to slip up at some point.
Probably, yeah.
But what I liked about this match was this was very reminiscent of kind of like Merrick was saying. This was the first time we seen the boss again, but it was very reminiscent of their NXT rivalry that made them. Like that rivalry made them. They did an Iron Women's match and stole a show in Brooklyn at a sold out arena the night before SummerSlam. And that match was better than 90% of the matches on that SummerSlam card. But the one that got me was the sunset flip apron spot that Sasha did to Bailey.
Yeah.
Into the cage. Like that landing for both of them was really nasty. Like Sasha Banks just went straight down to the concrete.
Right.
Bailey bounced off the cage and like her leg or foot or ends up hitting Sasha in the face. Bailey's head hits the cage a second time when she hits the ground. Like that landing was just rough on both of them.
Right, that was botched.
And there was one moment during the match where Bailey did a move to Sasha, and she ended up hitting her head on the ring and then hit her head on steel steps on the way down. Yeah. And I don't think she purposely was supposed to hit the steps because the way Banks looked, like she looked like she was in serious agony and pain whenever she hit that.
Right.
She laid there like she was not wanting to continue at all, but you know how it is. You got to keep going in those types of situations.
Right.
Now, as far as the match went, to me, like I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. This was my 10 out of 10 match on the card. And that's saying something because I was really into this Roman Reigns Jey Uso match, and Six can tell you that because he heard me just oogling while that match was going, loving every second of it.
Right.
I didn't oogle during the Banks Bailey match.
Right.
Like that match had me in it. It like I was focused on it. I was watching everything that was going on and all of the stuff that these women were doing.
Right.
And like they took elements from the Attitude Era, from their NXT run, their current runs, past, present, like they perfectly formed everything to what it should be. And it was great.
Right. They used Hell in a Cell for exactly what it was. And you get towards the end of the match and you've got Bailey standing up, setting up two chairs, putting the ladder between it, rolling Sasha on top of it, and then we even go back into the old days when NWO, she pulls out a can of spray paint, paints an X on Bailey,
there was a ladder.
Bailey paints an X on Sasha, grabs the damn chair that she had outside the ring that she managed to drag back inside the ring, which ironically is funny as hell because when you see the chair get drop kicked out, it goes way beyond any reach, and then towards the end of the match, all of a sudden she's able to pull the chair because it's right by the cage. So they let you know somebody out there kicked that damn chair closer.
My favorite thing about this is X marks the spot. X marks the spot.
Right. And then Bailey goes up top with that chair, and she's getting ready to do some kind of modified elbow drop with that chair into Sasha. And as she's airborne, Sasha rolls out of the damn way, and Bailey just plants into that ladder. And you don't see that much nowadays. And then we get towards the end of it. There's a little bit more back and forth. Bailey tries to hit the Bailey to belly with a chair, but Sasha reverses it and puts her in a bank statement using the chair, and then just starts repeatedly kicking the damn chair, forcing Bailey to tap out.
Way back from what Bailey did, way back a little bit.
Forcing Bailey to tap out at the end.
I'll give this match a 10 out of 10 as well. I agree with that there.
like my favorite part, or my favorite part about the end of the match, besides the fact that it was the chair that she'd stomped her and put her out for a couple weeks with, coming back into play, but it was also at the end, like, the ref was presenting Sasha with the one women's championship that she's not been able to get since she's done it. But it wasn't even like, she didn't even look at the title. It was just like this stare of, I told you I was going to do this. Why did you?
Exactly.
Like, we had something that we both could thrive off of. Why did you do this? So on and so forth. And then it, like, she realized that the ref is there with the title, just holding it there, and she takes it, and the picture shows, she walks over, she holds the title up, she's standing on Bayley. But the other part about that is she now joins a very, very, very short list of superstars
that have held both.
That have held, not both, but all three, that have held the NXT Women's Championship, the SmackDown, and the Raw Women's Championship.
Whoa. Hold on a second. She's held 4. She's held the NXT Women's title. She's held the SmackDown. She's held the Raw Women's, and she's held the Divas Championship.
Yeah.
Not to mention both, or the Women's Tag Team as well.
Right.
Well, yeah, but I mean, essentially, she joins the ranks of the Grand Slam.
Right.
For the women's division.
She's held every bit of gold that the women's division offers.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that on its own made this, like, that's the other reason why this Hell in a Cell was a 10 out of 10 for me, because she joined the club that she should have been part of for a while now.
Right.
Love her, hate her, like her, don't like her, whatever. It goes to show, hey, she's held this title, this title, this title, this title, this title.
Exactly.
You can't argue with it. I think it's her, Bayley, Charlotte, and Alexa, I think, are the only 4 to hold NXT. They're the only 4 to hold NXT, Raw, and SmackDown.
Yep.
Wasn't Paige in there at one point in time, or close to it, before she got injured?
No.
Thought she was.
Huh. But Bayley, Sasha, and Alexa are the only ones to hold the NXT, the Raw, the SmackDown, and the tag. So she is still, whichever way you look at it, she is still in an elite group of very few females.
Right.
And that just says a lot on its own.
Yep.
But I think that their storytelling on this match was right up there with Roman and Jay, with the back and forth.
Yep.
The intensity was there. The violence was there. Like, everything was there that needed to be there.
Yep.
And to me, that's why it got a 10 out of 10 for me.
I gave it
the
a 10
only
as well.
complaint I do have about this story, though, is they have been going back and forth for years. Now that this has happened, I kind of want to see them just completely split. And, like, be done with it, not get back as tag team like they always do, and, you know.
So
start a separate storyline different ways.
Yeah, they need to start.
So here's the thing: you stop and look at it. Like, Sasha and Bayley, like, their group is right there with the New Day, with the Usos, going further back, DX, the Nation.
Yep.
They're going to split, but there's going to be times where the Shield.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but they need to start.
I think you're going to see they're not going to be associated against each other for a while, because I think now that Sasha has the SmackDown Women's title, Bayley has that 380-day reign.
Right.
She held that title for 380 days. Bayley also recently went through some stuff where she lost family members. So this could be the way for WWE to just kind of let her get her break.
Take a break.
Do y'all want to go ahead and start moving on to the next match?
Yeah, match, match 5. Hurt Business sends out Bobby Lashley nominated himself or whatever. And then in the back, they asked, who in Retribution do you want to face? And at that point, they basically volunteered Slapjack out of Retribution. And at that point, MVP said that to show how serious we are, nobody will be allowed at ringside from either organization, and Bobby Lashley will put his United States Championship title on the line. This match, it had to be short because of time constraint. There really was nothing spectacular about this match. I mean, it was Lashley come out, he dominated the whole damn thing. He put, at the end of it, I think the match was like maybe 5-10 minutes long, if that. And he ends up putting the Hurt Locker or the Hurt Lock or whatever on Slapjack, resulting in a submission victory. And then I think the best part of the match at the end was Retribution come out after the end of the match and kind of jumped Lashley, and Lashley kind of powered out of it, knocked all of them down, and then Hurt Business came out, and they just kind of stared each other down from inside and outside the ring, and that's pretty much it. Nothing spectacular with this match at all.
Basically, this match lasted as long as my second relationship.
Right. I gave this a 1 out of 10.
I give this a 0 out of 10. I don't even think it was worth watching.
Puppet, just hold up the number of fingers. Puppet gave it a 2. All right.
Moving on to match 6.
And chat, you can tell how bad this match was that Puppet would rather eat pizza than discuss it.
Also, this is the first time I'm eating today, guys. So I tried to hold off on this as long as possible.
Moving on, the final match on the card was Randy Orton taking on Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship title inside Hell in a Cell. Good build-up on this match. My initial comments for this was, please don't let the match flop. They had good build-up and everything that was going on. Randy Orton sells being a heel so damn well. Especially, I'll tell you right now. On Spotify, at one point, Randy actually released a workout mix. I don't know if you've
Do me a favor. Just read it off by the title names.
Oh, I'm gonna once I find it. Okay, so here it is: WWE Randy Orton's Hell in a Cell workout. Okay, I'm gonna read the songs off in the order that he has them on there. Drew, I Can't Wait, Sunday Night, Me and You, Locked Inside, I'll Make You Feel, Pain, Like Never Before, the title, the champion, it's gonna be mine. Perfect way to sell heat, to sell that you are a heel in the WWE, is to drop that kind of playlist and publish it for people to listen to and see.
Those were the names of the songs in order.
In order.
And the last one was It's Going to Be Me by NSYNC. You're like, I'm sorry. I'm very much a heel person. I don't deny this one bit. But Randy Orton, hands down, for at least the last 10 years, has been the best heel that the WWE has had in a long time.
And I'm sorry, going into this match, my initial thought was, if you have the balls to take your heel work and create that kind of a playlist, you deserve to walk out with the fucking title. Straight up. I don't care how much I like Drew McIntyre. I don't care how much I like his new character, the new badass, the fact that he went from being a skinny nobody to this big-ass muscular motherfucker, kind of like Jinder Mahal did. You come out with something like that and you're selling the fact that you are a heel before this event, you need the title. You got to walk out with that. The match starts out. Drew McIntyre's music hits. He comes walking out as they're lower in the cell. He gets right to the front of the cell. The camera pans around, and Orton is standing right behind him. Black pants, a black hoodie, and jumps him. And the fight starts straight up. Match hasn't even begun, and they're brawling outside the ring. They make their way around. They get around to the... Hold on a second. They get around to the announcer's table, and McIntyre is laid out from something. Like, he hit the cage or something. He got, he's selling a knockout. Orton goes over and pulls the cover off of the announcer table and clears the fucking table off. And then they start fighting back and forth again, and they end up making their way back into the ring. And it's like I told Puppet, I said, Orton just cleared the table off. Somebody's going through the table in this match. Some way, shape, or form. Straight up. Eric.
Everyone's been flaunting over the fact that he was actually wearing pants, stuff like that, for the beginning of the match. Which the pants do come into play for the match, anyways. But
yeah.
It's just something you don't normally see Randy do. It's different.
Right. They end up making their way back around to the front. McIntyre takes over and ends up throwing Randy into the ring. Then he walks back, he grabs the cage door, he slams it shut, looks at Randy and says, "Now you belong to me." Slides in the ring, they ring the bell, and the match starts officially. At that point. 10 minutes outside the ring, brawling, and then they finally got the match underway.
I'm sorry. In my opinion, Hell in a Cell, the minute a punch is thrown, that match has started. You might as well just hang it up, just ring the bell. They'll make it to the ring eventually. If not, well, it's going to end in a no contest because they're probably both half dead.
Exactly.
It has to end in the match.
It doesn't matter, man. As soon as that first punch is thrown, ring the damn bell. They don't got to be in the cage. The match has started. If they kill each other outside the ring, the match is over anyway to no contest, and the fans are going to bitch and complain about it for the next month.
Either way, once the match officially started, you got them going back and forth for a little bit, and Randy just gets a boom RKO. But Drew ended up countering it.
Yep.
And I thought that was a very good start to the actual match starting, not outside of, being inside of the Hell in a Cell.
Right.
Because, you see them going back and forth, reverse and reverse, kind of stuff like that, which is how it's been building up to.
Right.
That's how they're doing all the time. Let's see.
And you get to the point. You get to a point where the fight spills outside the ring. They're beating the hell out of each other. They're throwing each other against the cage, and then at some point, Randy ends up taking his pants off. And it's like in my notes that I put, the entire time, he's carrying the pants, and then he drops them. He attacks Drew. Then he picks the pants back up again. And I basically said in my notes, Randy's carrying around his pants now for some reason. Probably intends to use them as a weapon or something. Or maybe he just likes the way they feel in his hands. Because at this point, you don't know what the hell he's doing. Maybe they're like some soft fabric and he just likes holding them or something. I don't know. But later on in the match, they come to play because he starts to use them as a chokehold. To choke Drew.
Which, if I remember correctly, he ends up kind of tying him against the cell wall with him,
so.
or tries to.
So I'm not going to lie, I missed the first 10 minutes of this match because I was in the bathroom.
Right.
So I came in and Orton had no pants, or I never saw pants. Six had told me that Orton cleared the announcer's table off, and then we both go, "Oh, someone's going off the cell."
Yep, someone's going through it.
And
then it was at this point that Drew's laid out in the ring. Orton's on the outside of the ring. He flips up the apron, and you can see clear as day that fucking toolbox. And we're just expecting him to use it, but instead he kind of crawls under the ring, and he pulls out these massive fucking bolt cutters. And I'm like,
okay. Here's what I thought was going to happen, or I was really hoping would happen. So last year, Hell in a Cell, Randy's Hell in a Cell was Jeff Hardy, and that toolbox came into play. And I'm not going to lie, I cringed every time he did this. But to watch him take that screwdriver and put it through the gauged ear of Jeff Hardy and then just start twisting it.
Yeah.
Again, Randy Orton, hands down, best heel in the last 10 years that WWE's ever had. That's all I'm saying. I was really hoping he was going to find some use for the toolbox again this year.
I think Jeff Hardy needs to lose the earring, or not the earrings, God. Remember when he got locked to a ladder a couple months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, that I was cringing so hard, like I about couldn't stand it anymore. I was imagining having to drag that damn thing.
Right. Right.
But I mean that's what I'm saying. Like the simplest of moves, and it wasn't the first time it was done. If you look back at like Triple H Batista's WrestleMania No Holds Barred match,
Yeah,
and the nose ring with the pliers, the easiest thing, most non wrestling move. You take a pair of needle nose pliers, you grab the earring, and you pull it.
Right.
Like, and in that match, Triple H wasn't even playing the heel. He was just playing I'm pissed off.
Right.
But it was effective.
Yeah, and the one thing to note about this is I don't know what happened backstage between these two, but every time Orton went for a cover in the match, Drew no-sold it. He no-sold it. Like, Orton hit the draping DDT. Now, any other time when he hits that on somebody...
That kick out at one?
Yeah, any time, like, Orton hits the draping DDT on anybody, even fucking Brock Lesnar, when he hit it on Lesnar, you know, it was always 1, 2, kick out. He hit the draping DDT. He went for a cover on McIntyre. 1, kick out. You know, he did a couple other moves early on. Big moves. 1, kick out. 1, kick out. Drew was not selling anything on Orton at all. So I don't know what the hell happened in the back, but there had to have been some heat in order for him to pull this.
No, if you they made a point of it on commentary too. The WrestleMania match with Lesnar McIntyre. Lesnar had hit suplexes, go for a pin, he'd kick out at 1. Lesnar had hit him with an F5, and he would kick out at 1. That was done to where, okay, McIntyre's losing the title, but he cannot look like he just got his ass handed to him.
Right.
That kick out at 1 keeps him looking like he's strong and he's determined.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily mean, hey, your shit's not strong enough. It's just saying, look, you're going to have to do more than this to...
Right. I ain't no bitch and I ain't going down to no draping DDT.
Right. Now, fast forward to where you were at. I'm pretty sure that's around the time you were at. You were talking about the bolt cutters, right?
Orton's got the bolt cutters, and he's walking around the cage with these cutters, and you're like, okay, we know what you're about to do, so quit stalling. He walks around, he goes to the cage door, opens the cutters up, and cuts the chain, and goes outside.
My first statement, and Six, you can attest to this, as soon as the bolt cutters came out, before he even opened them, I said, we're fixing to go to the top of the cage.
Yep, straight up. Shades Shawn Michaels a la Undertaker. They get outside.
It's fixing to go.
There's some back and forth between the two of them. You know, Drew's knocked down. Orton keeps looking to the top of the cage, and I'm just like, well, here we go. Sure enough, up goes Orton. Climbs the cage.
Whenever he first grabbed the bolt cutters, there, I was sitting there thinking, well, maybe... I know he's going to go outside of the ring. I was sitting here like, maybe he'll go in there and try to use the bolt cutters on Drew McIntyre first.
Right. Use them as a weapon or something, but nope, he just went straight around.
Evil element.
It was, and all it was the whole reason the bolt cutters came into play the way that they did was because Monday on Raw, when Orton put this cell between him and McIntyre, and the cell was already locked.
And McIntyre just cut it open.
McIntyre had already prepared for it and had stashed bolt cutters at the entryway. And he cut the cell open, walked in and closed the door. Kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
But now it was Orton saying, "You think that you can keep me in here, but I came
Right.
prepared." Click. Now come
Right.
get me.
And if you watched this from the beginning, from the first match, and you paid close attention to the cell, you'd notice that between each of the steel supporting beams on the chain link fence, they already had little notches that were cut out for footholds. So somebody could climb the cage when it came to that time. So you're watching Randy as he's ascending to the top of the cage, and he's got, his feet are going in these pre-cut foot notches and everything. He gets to the top, and he walks around for a bit, and then he stands there, and then Drew comes to and looks up at Orton, and he's like, "So this is what we're gonna do?" And at that point, Orton just kind of taunts McIntyre to come up, and McIntyre goes up too. They're both standing at the top of the cage. Orton's on the far right side of the cage. McIntyre is just getting up. And just as he's getting ready to engage Orton, Orton bends down and picks up this big-ass lead pipe.
Yeah, where did the... do we know
It
where
was
the
up
lead
there.
pipe came from?
It was
on
up
top
there.
of the ring.
It was just sitting up there.
Or on top of the cell.
It's been up there all night, just pre-placed.
Yeah, that part gonna make no sense to me. But yeah, once Drew and them got up there, he pulls out the pipe, does absolutely nothing with it, basically, in my opinion. And yeah, they were only up there for 5 minutes?
5 minutes, if that. They
climbing
get
down.
a couple back and forths. Orton ended up hitting McIntyre with the pipe. Both of them are laid down. Orton goes over to the side of the cage, starts to climb down. And as he's going down, you see on each side of the cage, you see two little notches just sticking out for them to put their feet on. So Orton gets his feet on this side, then McIntyre comes down, and they start, kind of hitting each other and whatnot. And then it ends up with McIntyre losing his grip and falling through the announce table.
Let's also take a moment to show that Randy Orton, literally, his foot got stuck in the cage on the way down.
Right.
He was trying his damnedest to get it out, and I thought he was going to fall right there by accident and ruin it.
Right. And when stuff like that happens, it's not scripted, so, McIntyre has to delay what he's doing and everything before they can proceed to make sure that Randy's okay and can get unstuck. So now McIntyre's laid out at the bottom of the ring. He's just gone through the announce table. He's got blood coming out of his mouth now. Then Orton finally gets down, and a little bit more taunting from Randy Orton over McIntyre. They end up back inside the ring. And then a little bit more fighting. Orton decides to go for an RKO. He slides into the ring, does his little punch in the mat and everything. McIntyre gets up. Orton goes for the RKO. It's reversed from McIntyre, does it into a reverse pin, and gets a 2 count. At this point, you think, well, what's going to happen? Orton gets up, goes for a clothesline. Drew ducks it, hits a Claymore, but Randy is smart and rolls out of the ring. McIntyre's still laid out because he's exhausted, still hurting from going through the table. And now Randy did the smartest thing a heel could do when you get hit with your opponent's finishing move, is get out of the ring. Because now you have time to recover, and your opponent has to exert more energy getting out of the ring, throwing your ass back in the ring, and then he has to get back in as well. And by that time, you've got enough energy recovered to kick out of a 3 counter to get up and do what you need to do. The best part of the ending of this match is Drew gets up. They're both in the ring. They're both laid out. McIntyre gets up, goes to the corner, starts doing his little taunting thing. He's about to go for the Claymore. Orton gets up. McIntyre charges, jumps for the Claymore, and Randy just fucking ducks it. Ducks the Claymore. McIntyre hits the mat, gets back up, and that's when Orton nails the RKO for the 3 count. And the victory.
So, here's my take on this one. The Claymore kick has been made to look like it is just absolutely devastating. Which it should. It's good enough to put Lesnar on his back. It's devastating. I give it credit. And I think the way that they had Randy counter that makes that makes that move look just as strong as it is, but shows, okay, it goes back to that whole heel thing. I can beat you dirty, but you know what? I'm just going to embarrass you. You're going to throw
Right.
that kick, and I'm going to roll on the ground.
Right. I'm gonna make you miss it.
Yeah. And, like, to me, it goes back into that whole storytelling. Like,
Right.
you know, it's keeping one person looking strong while being able to get your title on who you want it to start building towards this.
Right.
Now, does that mean that he won't get the title back? Lord, no.
He'll probably get it back next pay-per-view.
Let's be honest. I don't think he'll have it back in next pay-per-view.
Mm-mm.
I don't think he'll get it back until... If he gets it back at the next pay-per-view, he either loses it by or on the Rumble.
Right.
Because as of right now, it's dead set that Orton, Edge, WrestleMania, WWE title. Which I don't have a problem with.
No, I don't have an issue with that, but
and I think how they took the title off of McIntyre works.
Yep.
Because McIntyre does not look weak. He looks like he got outsmarted.
Right.
Which
is what Randy Orton does.
Yeah, that he is the Viper.
He's been in the game long enough, you know. He knows.
He's got monikers. He's the Apex Predator, the Viper, the Legend Killer. But not only that, now it puts him in a select group again. Another person going to a select few.
Right. Tied with Triple H.
He tied Triple H in second with most title reigns.
Yep.
At 14. The only two people ahead of them is Ric Flair and John Cena.
Right.
So you've got Ric Flair, John Cena, Triple H, Randy Orton. Like, they're the only ones to have that many title reigns.
Yep. Flair's got 15 and Orton and
16.
16. Orton and Triple H have 14.
Cena and Flair tied at 16. Orton and Triple H tied at 14.
And there ain't no way that they're going to let Orton go over 16, though, in my opinion.
Well, I don't think anyone will go over 16.
I honestly think I see a feud coming in the future between Orton and Triple H for a title.
Like, I think, and that's why I say, because I think Edge, I don't think he's in the double digits.
He's not.
No, where he had to go into like early retirement for a while, he wasn't able to get that many.
Yeah, I don't think he was.
Yeah, but no, he had quite a few before that ever happened.
Yeah, he did.
Because it was always a back and forth thing with him and Cena. But I don't think he ended up hitting 10. I could be wrong, because for some reason I really want to say he's been a 13-time heavyweight champion.
Give me a second, I'll double check here.
7. Oh, hold on.
Is it 7?
He won the World Heavyweight Championship 7 times, the WWE Championship 4 times.
11.
11.
Yeah.
11, okay.
He's been United States Champion once, Intercontinental Champion 5 times, the United States Champion once, and the Tag Team Championship 12.
Yeah.
They have the record Tag Team Championships with 12.
Yeah. So, he's at 11 right now. Which I think puts him in 3rd place at this point.
Yeah, 3rd place.
So, who else to give him the 12th?
Other than Randy, his former.
Other than Randy, because he came back in. Randy, you know, they hinted rated RKO, Rumble, throws him over. Randy's upset. Randy kicks him. Well, that leads to WrestleMania. We have the all-out street fight that was amazing,
right?
Considering how long he had been gone, and to come in and put on to have a fight like that
Right.
was impressive.
Right. Edge winning that one, and then it's setting up a good
Then they going into the greatest wrestling match ever.
Right.
That was a terribly. that was just. They shouldn't have named it that. They should have let it be named that organically.
Right.
They
doomed themselves when they did that.
They did good, and the fact that Edge competed through a torn bicep,
right?
He still got it, obviously.
Right.
He's a little older.
It is his dream. He ain't never gonna give it up. I don't care about.
Exactly. He didn't even give it up when he was forced to retire.
It's one of those things, and he's made this statement. Everything's always been on his terms, except for when he had to quit.
Right.
It wasn't on his terms. He just kind of came to terms with it. Now he has this ability to be like, I can do this one more time and go out on my terms.
Right. Exactly.
And I'm going to.
Yep. So, overall for this one, Randy Orton is your winner via pinfall and the new World Heavyweight Champion. I gave this one a 9 out of 10. Merrick?
I think it's a 9 out of 10 as well. My reasoning being the first two big matches in Hell in a Cell kind of overshone this one a little bit. This one should have been the mid card, I think, and Sasha and Bayley should have been the first match with Roman Reigns falling up at the main event.
Right. Puppet.
What's up?
What's your rating on this one?
On the match?
Yeah.
The match I gave a 8.5. Again, the best one on the card was Sasha Bayley. This one just had. It was a good match, but I got a lead pipe on top of the cell. Where'd the pipe come from? Why is he carrying around pants for? Like, there was just too many questions, and what in the holy hell are you doing?
Right.
Storytelling, match itself was good. There was a little bit of sloppiness in there, in my opinion.
Right.
Or a lot of things that just I couldn't wrap my head around.
Right.
Now, him being like at the beginning of it, him being behind him, like he was,
that's normal.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's a good start.
That's Orton. That's the Viper being the Viper.
Exactly.
Him stalking him setting up for plans that he has down the road by clearing out the table. All of that makes sense for Orton.
Exactly.
But carrying around pants after you took them off,
like the way they feel,
like it's a safety blanket.
For me, it's like, was Linus in the ring or was Randy Orton?
Yeah. Or I'm on top of the cell. Come get me. Whoop! I pulled this red pipe out of nowhere.
I pulled it right out of my ass.
It's like
he was
now, granted, you can sit here and make up a story. All right, well, Orton knew what was coming. He got there days before. He planted this pipe up there. He knew it was up there.
Right.
Like, okay, you can go back now. Like, you can Raw. He can go. Yeah, I got there hours before the event started. I climbed up the cell. I planted the pipe.
Right. Exactly.
Because when he got up there, I planned on knocking him out.
Right.
All right, cool. Now you've explained your pipe. Now that makes sense.
Exactly. It's not none of this. Well, how the hell did I get up there?
Tell me about these pants that you was carrying around like a safety blanket. I didn't want to let them go. Well, they gave up on you. That's what happened, Randy.
Right.
Those pants gave up on you. You know how many people were upset you were in pants? Right. Me personally, I couldn't have cared less. But there were some women out there that were highly upset that those legs weren't on display, man.
Right.
The pant, now granted, like I said, him starting the match the way he did, it explains how he was dressed.
Right.
But you know what? He should have kept the pants on through the whole goddamn match.
Right.
Like I would have been like, you know what? He was this dead set on getting his ass. He didn't even change into his wrestling gear. He's gonna whoop his ass in pants.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I would have ran with that. And cash. I would have ran to the bank and cashed a check with that idea. Been like, you know what? Fuck it, Vince. I'm gonna keep these goddamn pants on.
Right. Fuck your wardrobe. This is what I'm doing.
Because if I'm this man, I'm going to camouflage myself to sneak up behind him on his entrance. I ain't gonna have my wrestling tights under these.
Oh shit.
That means I came. I put on my ring gear. Then I put on clothes, and then I went and hid in the crowd. No,
Right.
I am so mad. I'm getting here late. I'm looking like I'm a fucking.
I was at the bar knocking back shots. I got here late. My Uber didn't know how to get here.
He shouldn't
I'm
have had
here
wrestling
now.
boots on.
Fuck your attire. I'm going out
it-
wearing this.
Listen, with those pants, he should have had on Nikes.
Right.
If Orton had been there in pants, a hoodie, Nikes, I'd have been like, this motherfucker was so mad. He decided he was not coming till he had to.
Beanie, dark sunglasses, gloves.
Yeah. Like, I would have went all out with this. Had he had on a pair of Nikes or a pair of Jordans, interchangeable. It's cool.
Right.
He's
One
a top
Nike,
paid
one
athlete.
Jordan. Fuck it. Mix it up.
Put on a Jordan. He could have showed up in Converse, and I would have been like, you know what? He came to stomp someone's ass and nose.
Pants on backwards, different shoes, with the shirts on backwards because you got dressed in the dark because you just fucking woke up. You realize you're main eventing Hell in a Cell. Shit, I gotta get there.
But no, I gave it I gave it a 9. I'll say I gave it a 9.
All right.
Because, like I said, it was good. There was just some things for me personally that
Right.
It was
pulled me away from it.
overshadowed by the first two big matches.
Right.
Honestly.
Bailey and Sasha overshadowed both of them.
I think if they didn't put, if they weren't gonna put Reigns and Uso as the main event, I think Sasha and Bailey would have been a good main event.
Sasha Bailey should have closed the show.
Right.
Like, now that I sit and think about it, I know I've made the statement. It should have been Reigns and Uso closing the show with how everything played out.
Right. But Sasha and Bailey would have been a
match
good
quality. Sasha and Bailey should have closed it.
Right. Overall, it was a solid show, solid card. Some of the matches, in my opinion, should have been left off. Should have been left as a SmackDown or Raw feud. Puppet,
3 of the matches.
Yeah. Puppet, your overall rating for this show?
What'd I say, 8.5?
8.5 out of 10. For some reason, it's showing up there.
I was going to say, for some reason, I forgot what I said.
I believe I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Eric comes in with a 7 out of 10. I know why it's not showing up. Let me
Boom.
correct this. Oh. There, and my rating, I gave it an 8 out of 10. Good show. One of the best pay-per-views I've seen for a while from the WWE. I give them credit. They actually pulled out the stops on this one. They did really, really well. Like
You want to see some crazy pay-per-views? Go check out NXT.
Right.
I was going to say, as far as like main roster pay-per-views, besides Mania, this was my biggest. Like, to me, this was one of the best
this year.
Yep.
Now, a lot of people didn't like Mania because of the whole 2-night. It's an event so big we can't have it on for one night. A lot of people got turned off by that. For me, that's normal. Mainly because for like the last 5 years, I've been when I came up with the idea of doing a wrestling review thing and asking y'all to do this. I've always wanted to do something wrestling related. I've watched wrestling my entire life, and when I say watch wrestling, I don't mean WWE. I mean WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, PWG, New Japan, Progress in the UK. Like, I watch wrestling. So for like the last 5 years, I'd been making it a normal thing for me. I would wake up at 2 in the morning, log into my New Japan World, and start watching not the G1, but Wrestle Kingdom. And it's always 2 nights.
Right.
So, like, to have a major show as big as WrestleMania be 2 nights, WrestleMania should be 2 nights. You should have enough matches, enough important matches with the rosters that you have, and the 2 shows, or 3 shows if you really want to get down to it. Just include NXT in WrestleMania.
Right.
You've got enough talents and titles and feuds to do a 2-night show.
Right.
Well, see, my only issue with it having 2 nights is the first night really outshined the second night, in my opinion.
And that's going to happen.
Right.
Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm used to that. I'm telling you, if you want to see something, watch some of the Wrestle Kingdom shows. Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles, it did not happen in WWE. Their best match happened in Wrestle Kingdom in Japan. That's where that first match came from, and a lot of their match from WrestleMania was their Wrestle Kingdom match.
Right.
Like, they called that one in.
Right. And that's what you got to do. If you're going to have a 2-night show that's pre-recorded,
like, you're going to have a night that outshines the other.
You have to,
but it's more balancing it out.
You have to.
Well, yeah,
the thing is, you have to have a reason to give. You got to give people a reason to come back, because if you put all your big matches on night 1, they're not going to come back for night 2.
Yeah. So, like, now here's what I think they should have done differently. They should have waited. The Boneyard match should have been the end of night 2, period.
Right.
Taker's last WrestleMania match should have ended WrestleMania. Shouldn't have been a title match. Shouldn't have been any. It should have been Taker ending WrestleMania.
Right.
That's the only thing I would change. That is why night 1 outshined night 2. And as much as I hate to say that, because Drew McIntyre winning that world title was big.
Right.
But Taker's last match is going to outshine anything you do.
Exactly.
Like, that's the only thing. If they went back and changed anything, Taker's Boneyard match should have been the end of night 2.
Yeah.
McIntyre should have been the end of night 1.
Right. Exactly.
And then when you move the Boneyard match, well, now you've got to move the Firefly Funhouse match to night 1. That way you don't have the 2 cinematic matches.
I honestly didn't really like that match that much, the way it got.
Oh, I loved it.
I mean, I liked it,
It was
but
different.
No, I loved it.
I feel like they didn't give Cena like a single chance to do anything in that entire thing.
It was that was the purpose of it.
Yeah, it was psychedelic.
The purpose was not for Cena to have his last WrestleMania match. The purpose was for Wyatt to rewrite history.
Right.
That was the entire concept of the match.
Well, I understand that.
Like, that's why that match was perfect the way it was, and it could not have been pulled off without John Cena. And to see the Saturday night main event old school promo with steel cage in front of him and Cena looking like a ripped off Hulk Hogan, just
right.
curling weights like he was a damn robot, and then to fast forward and see him coming out like he was in the NWO, this heel turn, and then for it to come full circle, and it has Cena in the ring with the chair, and Bray Wyatt as a Bray Wyatt from the Wyatt family in the center of the ring holding his arms, and Cena taking the swing like he should have done.
Right.
But that was the entire purpose of that match, was to get Cena to swing that chair. Not like the match was going to end with Bray Wyatt winning. I don't think anyone doubted that or thought, oh, well, Cena's going to win that. No. The whole purpose of it was to change the history of one moment.
Right.
That's why, yeah, it was bizarre and it was different, but that's what it was being used for, to change the perspective of that one moment.
Right.
And because they pulled it off the way they did, it was absolutely beautiful. My opinion on that, but that is why that match was so good. Was it as good as the Boneyard match? Oh hell no! That
Not close.
the Boneyard match was an art.
Right.
Like that is a piece of movie art at this
Right.
point in my eyes. Just from Taker's hand going through the windshield and going, "You sorry son of a bitch, see what you caused me to do?"
Right.
Like just the banter. Like
Right.
it was Undertaker and it was the Dead Man and the American Badass merged together.
Right.
And it was perfect.
Exactly.
And then of course the ending of it, him riding off into the
Sunset, riding off into the moonset.
yeah, into the
Right.
darkness.
Right.
Like that was perfect. Like that match. That's why I say that match, hands down, should have ended WrestleMania Night 2. That should have been the end of WrestleMania. Period.
Right.
Because that was Taker's last match, whether they knew it or not. He knew it, and I think it was obvious for everyone. This was going to be his last. This was his last Mania.
Right.
Like that's the only thing that I think Drew had me draw back from Mania was Taker was not closing Mania.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
Taker said the title should always end the pay-per-view. I understand that. But it also comes to the point where you hear WrestleMania, first thing you think of is not WWE Championship, it's The Undertaker.
Right, exactly. It's Undertaker.
It's the streak. And like I remember where I was when the streak got beat.
Oh, was it?
And I remember the shock.
Right. The dude in the front row.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
all the people to lose to though. Like,
Well,
that was his call.
He wanted it to be Lesnar.
Like that was his call. When you hear him talk about it, he's like, I looked at the boss and said, "Hey, you want to make this man the beast, make him a monster."
You want to make him hated
What
by
better way to
everybody
do
in
it?
the fucking universe. Yeah. Have him lose to me.
Like,
Or
what
have
better
him
way to
beat
do
me.
it? Have him kill something that has not been killed.
Right.
I mean, hey, Taker said, "You want to make this man a monster. You want to make this man a beast. He beats me."
Right.
well, anyways, not to cut you off, but guys, we need to go ahead and get this done with for tonight.
Yep. Let's bring this on home. I want to thank everybody for stopping in. We're going to go ahead and conclude this podcast of the Hell in a Cell podcast review. Our next one, we're going to schedule it for November 9th at around the same time. The next one that we're actually going to do is kind of a get-together, a shoot the shit. We're going to review some of our favorite matches and moments in history of the WWE, WCW, ECW, whatever. We'll have a list of matches that we're going to go over, and we'll post them up on Twitter. That way you know what to expect heading into the podcast, and we'll take care from that. I'm 617. You're on my Twitter. You're on my Twitch page. You can catch me here. Merrick.
Merrick Prince, Twitch.tv. I've not been live here lately, but I'm working on getting it fixed.
And Puppet.
And I am Puppet, which first episode was on my channel, Puppet Master 2191. You also, if you're in my Discord, you will see where we're talking about wrestling in the wrestling discussion from time to time. Catch me there. Find me on Twitter as well. Just look for Puppet Master. I'm easily found.
Yep. And we're going to end it off right here. I'm going to send y'all over to Stitched Up Monkey, who is currently playing Modern Warfare. So make sure you stop in and drop him some love. Peace.
Later, everybody.
Woo.